scheme is to make a play for the Scottish throne. I think Bruce is going to make himself king.
Bruce's coronation is a common would be murdered and that he'd be moving to take the throne at this kind of pace. Bruce might be crowned, but there's no time for coronation bunting and street parties. Edward, Hammer of the Scots, wants this sedition stamped out. The English army swoops down on the town of Perth, just a few miles from the site of Bruce's coronation. The capture of Perth presents Bruce with a dilemma. On the one hand, he needs to show the chiefs that he's a strong commander. It makes sense to deal with the English vanguard before the main army arrives first.
I love your accent.
The forces, though, is still outnumbered.
And I have
a fire in his veins.
read English for and trained in different regional accents.
This lack of caution proves unwise.
And South African I trained also, but that's so hard to fall into without some musky people around me.
It's caught unawares as the English heavy armour, the knights on horseback come thundering through the encampment. Bruce's army is shattered, scatters in all directions.
It's really cool now. Why is it so cool? You are starting to mingling outdoors in your secret schedules and stuff.
In a sense that Scots should be caught out like this. It demonstrates, I think, Bruce's naivety at this stage in his military. The defeat is a brutal lesson for Bruce. Fighting the English on their terms, outnumbered by mounted knights over open ground, doomed to failure.
Mounted knights
time to think, and he needs to travel to safety quickly. Bruce sends his wife, daughter, and his sister north to where they have kin, praying they'll be safe. He's now excommunicated, outlawed, and on the run. To lose their pursuers mid Highland forests and glens, and this brings them into Clan MacDougall territory. They're desperate, on the run. It's a mistake. Top dog in Clan Dougal is John of Lorne. He's a kinsman of the murdered John Cummin. The Bruces and the Campbells are now sworn enemies of the MacDougalls. And they don't take kindly to them strutting into their glens.
Bruce is in a very difficult spot. The MacDougalls are the dominant clan on the Scottish West Coast by the end of the 13th century. They're used to ruling the region, a semi-autonomous lordship, almost a kingdom unto itself. And the links to the coins mean that they're duty-bound, honour-bound, to try and either capture or kill the man who brought about John Cummin's death. So, whichever way Bruce is heading, he's heading into trouble.
So when Bruce and his Campbell allies try sneaking through MacDougall territory, John of Lorne lies in wait for them with archers and axemen.
Det kan bli när det blir lite felaktigt. Så har du 20% kväve.
Unleash a devastating attack. Given the rapid state of Bruce's men, it's not so much a battle as a mugging. Bruce's men are shooting pieces.
Så kväve kommer upp efter högsen, så blir det ju kväve.
Fewer in number, Bruce and the clansmen flee. They're down to 200 men. They head higher into the mountains. Their enemies in pursuit.
Kvävet inte lika
They travel a long, bitter and bloody road south to reach the sea. Behind them lie two crushing defeats. As for the women Bruce sent north to safety, they never made it. His wife, his daughter, his sisters, they were captured and sent south to face Edward's justice. This is the darkest hour, but Neil Campbell still has Bruce's back. He's led his king to his own clan territory, Argyll, and sent for galleys to ferry them to safety, off the mainland and away to remote islands in the west. Campbell has proved his loyalty, but what isn't lost on Bruce is Neil's ability to raise a fleet of galleys in just a few days. Bruce might be King of Scots, but Clan Campbell rule these parts. Bruce is a powerless fugitive. And as he waits for rescue, his thoughts focus upon the family he thinks he sent to safety in the north. The family now in the clutches, Edward of England.
It's so nice.
To the woman, Edward was especially cruel. Bruce's wife
I remove this.
His sister Mary was put in an iron cage hung from a castle tower, open to the elements, forbidden to communicate with anyone, treated like a beast in a menagerie. But as for Bruce, after the Campbell galleys spirit him off, as far as the English are concerned, he's simply vanished.
Well, Bruce disappears off the map in this period. Perhaps Edward thought that all was well, that Bruce's early defeats had convinced him that there's no possibility of pursuing this campaign to resurrect Scottish kingship.
But Bruce hasn't given up. He's seeking new allies. This time on the island of Islay, home to the MacDonalds. Their chieftain is the fearsome Angus Og, and his clansmen are a heady mix of Gaelic warrior and Viking marauder. They're the Hell's Angels of the Hebrides.
Bruce is probably quite anxious when he meets Angus Og. He's powerful, and Bruce really doesn't know what to expect at this moment, as many people are at the time. Bruce is also very vulnerable. He's quite weak. He doesn't have much support anymore, and so he's really on the back foot and not sure what to expect when he meets Angus Og. So Bruce tries to make a deal.
Angus Og sees potential in this
sexy baby.
He's come to Ireland.
Sexy baby.
He's prepared to offer him shelter. He's prepared to offer him military support, but at a price. Because Angus Og has got his own agenda. His terms won't be easy. He's expecting lavish promises from Bruce, and these promises are about land, especially land which is now in control of his deadly enemies, the Muggles. He's expecting promises of future power and authority under a Bruce-led Kingdom of Scotland.
But there's also a loyalty to Bruce and an affinity. So when these two men come together, I think that there'll be an understanding on both their sides that
now I will try to find
a strong working relationship, a shared belief in causes that the
working gloves on,
bring them together and create
working gloves on, working gloves on. Hello.
Determining the ultimate success of Robert Bruce as King of Scots.
King of Scots.
Bruce has no choice. He accepts all of Angus's demands.
Yeah.
Now he has two major Western clans on side, the Campbells and the MacDonalds. 3 days later, Bruce's renegade fleet heads for the open sea again, and he vanishes from his enemy's sight.
I'm wondering, have I stepped on the cable?
Winter is coming, and now the fugitive king seeks out another clan on the remote western seaboard of the Hebrides, one with blood ties to the house of Bruce, the MacRories. Chief of Clan Rory is Christiana of the Isles. The Gaels accepted women as leaders, and she's quick to offer Bruce support and shelter. It's usually said that Bruce spent the winter of 1306 in a cold cave with only a legendary spider for company. The truth is, he was probably much more comfortable than that. A warm family welcome, a warm bed, food, advice on what to do next, and not a spider in sight. It's said that Christiana gave Robert much more than just shelter in the winter of 1306, that later she bore him an illegitimate child. But above all, she believed in his cause, pledging clan warriors to his rebel band of Campbells and MacDonalds. Bruce and his new friends talk long into the winter evenings. How can they challenge the great English war machine? They have neither numbers nor arms to go into battle conventionally. Bitter experience has taught them that. But what if they could use the ferocious fighting style of the clan warrior and the forbidding Scottish landscape to their advantage? In the winter of 1306, he announces a change of tactics. Basically, what the poem says is that he will use clan warfare to fight Edward. We shall.
Pardon? On the launch. Rapperst. At Bree.
I can't.
It's time for the king to return. He hasn't returned with a massive army or with a great fleet at all. He's just returned with a few followers.
Bruce has come back to the southwest, and that's Bruce's own territory here. That's where his own earldom is, the earldom of Gaelic speaking area. But it's also part of the country where the English have a strong presence on the ground in terms of controlling castles. So in a sense this is a very bold move by Bruce, I would think. From Edward's point of view, he's literally entering the lion's den.
Bruce has absolutely no intention of taking on Edward's army. He's about to change the very nature of war. Like a shadow, Bruce moves north. Bruce has not forgotten the previous year when he was caught unprepared. Now he will apply guerrilla warfare. Speed, mobility, surprise, small-scale hit and runs, scorched earth. This will be the start. In April 1307, Bruce ambushes the English on his home turf at Glentrool in Galloway, using his knowledge of the country to his advantage. Then, a month later, he smashes his enemy again at Loudon Hill. At Loudon Hill, Bruce once again exploited the landscape to give him the upper hand. Its rocky, slender top, forcing the English to fight on a narrow front, so that their superior numbers gave them no advantage. The Bruce's men attacked so violently that the rear of the English army fell back in a panic.
The program is called The Bloody History of Scotland.
Small victories are a turning point in Bruce's campaign, and their
Skottlands våldsamma historia.
God is on Bruce's side, and not just God, it seems.
What the fuck?
Mythical wizard Merlin too.
Bruce was
British history documentary series from 2019,
preachers in his army,
and it's about Robert
the news, the good news,
the first of Scotland, and the main speaker is Neil Oliver. Travels back in time to look closer to Scotland's violent clan. battles.
Believe that Bruce will carry all before him.
It will become a bloody saga about feuds, battles, and treason that could be compared to Game of Thrones.
Red Rag.
In the first episode, this is the first episode. You just missed the first 8 minutes.
It's now an old man.
This first Neil looks closer on Robert of Scotland or Robert of the Scots. I don't know how to the proper translator. Robert of Scotland, Robert of the Scots. Long camp to win the Scottish crown.
It might have been a possibility, but what did they do?
Something that came to shape the destiny of the kingdom. The kingdom. What is the kingdom? Is this the Scottish kingdom or United Kingdom? It must be United. Well, it's first broadcast in Sweden this season.
He's no warrior.
Was 19th December.
Divisive.
But it's produced in 2019, so we have
north of the border.
Bought it.
Bruce's power.
We bought the Swedish Public Service bought this history documentary series
Plans that once swore loyalty
real early and had it's the third time it's
Bruce. If you're not with him,
that's it. Sorry, it's available on svtplay.se
clan enemies to slaughter
for
first on the list
6 months or something.
Bruce's
I don't
will
know.
never be secure for as long as even one of them.
So I guess
in September 1307,
and all rights reserved. I don't take any credits for this.
Of his guerrilla army take the Commons completely by surprise. Bruce's treatment of them is merciless.
Tomten är för lilla barnen! You're gonna hear the sound from that in a separate broadcast.
To get the Bruce treatment. The now ascendant King of Scots hasn't forgotten the doing over he and his beleaguered men got from the MacDougals under chieftain John of Long just 2 years earlier. And it's not just Bruce.
Santa is father to all children. That's it's always goes in Christmas. Woohoo!
Once Neil Campbell trained in Paris to be a priest,
Tundrans
to
vita
be a man
vargar.
of peace. But
Kolos.
it's not on his mind.
No, we have American long movie from the romantic.
So you have a feud going
Damn,
on.
they're crossing here to two channels.
Justice is kin-based and it's about
And I have no
and they are
exactly the same time.
And if that's not enough,
And the DVR function with USB doesn't support. How is it now? Could I record one with overlapping?
Relationship with the MacDougals, there have been tensions there.
I must
recent
watch
years.
the same thing that I DVR.
Angus Orvis has been slain by the
That's why I have 6 televisions in my multimedia room, but it's a terrible nightmare to keep track of all the USB keys.
this isn't just about backing a new king in return for reward.
Because they are hardware locked to the
It's going to be messy.
TV screen that they was recorded at.
Desperation sends a letter to Edward begging for support. Robert the Bruce approaches these
And every TV is limited to
they say 50,000.
have 4 USB
Bruce asked
memory
for a truce,
sticks
which I granted him for a short space.
bundled
You sent me.
to RAM.
John's estimate of 15,000 is a colossal exaggeration, but it
Starting to get a bit chilly. I think I will put up some heat
and will help.
in the living room now in the
Showdown between Robert the Bruce and John of Long takes place in the summer of 1308 in the Pass of Veranda, deep in the MacDougall heartland. The MacDougals conceal themselves along the hillside overlooking the road, lying in wait. waiting to do to Bruce and his men what Bruce had done to the English in Glentrone, ambushed them. But Bruce and his now highly disciplined clan army outflanked the invaders. Using the slopes of the pass, they execute a deadly pincer move and attack from the rear. Ambushers get ambushed. The MacDougals.
The MacDougals. The MacDougals.
And Angus Og are avenged.
Yeah.
By now, Bruce's reputation ran before him. He shouted from both above and below that Argyllesmen fall. Their brave leader quickly follows. John of Lorne, last of the MacDougals, lost the battle to simple terror.
Damn! Kukbert.
Bruce's power grows.
Rushy power.
Clan chiefs like Neil Campbell formally swear oaths of allegiance.
Prince and King of Robert.
And there are others pledging their lives to the rebel king, like Alexander Seaton.
There's a lot of crap cable without.
Are in the front line between the English and Scottish kingdoms. They've endured a decade of invasion. He has a wife, children, a household to support. They've seen armies come and go. They've lost family and friends. But now, Bruce's success in the Highlands has the Lowlands talking. Maybe, just maybe, the tide is turning in favour of the King of Scots. But Seaton's position isn't clean-cut. He's also sworn the same oath to the King of England. If Bruce prevails, he can jump the fence. If not, he's lost nothing.
You shouldn't be there.
Seaton is
You should be in the picture. You know?
And Bruce knows it.
You know, you can hear.
But he's preparing.
Do you want to lie there?
His campaign.
Be king of the stuff?
Scotland is so weak.
You can lie up there and be king of everything.
No choice but to fully commit to him.
And you will.
By 1314, only Stirling Castle remains in English hands. It's the most important fortress in the country.
That's Neil from the young
Keystone
ones.
that governs access between Highlands and Lowlands. It's a simple strategic fact. Control Stirling, and you control Scotland. Robert's wee brother, Edward, proposes they strike a deal with the English garrison occupying Stirling.
Yeah, but it's Neil from the young ones. And if you don't have seen the young ones, you have really missed something.
At a time when the Scots can plan for. But it's risky.
Edward II can't bring an army north. It relieves Stirling Castle by St John the Baptist on Midsummer's Day, 24th of June 1314. Then the garrison will surrender the castle to the Scots.
Edward II had already been raising forces to take down the upstart king. But now he's got a deadline to meet, and the gears of England's war machine start turning faster. The countdown to Bruce's high noon has begun. His enemy under the terms he's avoided since 1307. He has to meet him in open battle. Not a surprise battle, not a hit-and-run battle, not a battle of the clans choosing, but a full-on, face-to-face, stop King Edward getting to the castle battle. Things can only get medieval. Bruce has got this far by playing a high-stakes game. But on the face of it, he's taking a gamble when the odds are seriously stacked against him.
It's also worth remembering that Bruce hasn't actually convinced everyone that he's the man to back.
So failure here at this crucial juncture could lead people that are on the fence to switch their allegiance and take their loyalty elsewhere.
Edward gathered his forces at Berwick by the 10th of June, 15,000 foot soldiers and 2,500 cavalry, a large army compared to Bruce's 6,000, but in reality, numbers don't matter. The battle will be a contest between Bruce's clan foot soldiers and Edward's mounted knights, archers and infantry. It doesn't sound like a fair fight, but Bruce, as always, has a plan. Methodically, the King of Scots starts to prepare his clan army for the greatest trial of strength they will face. And he has an ace up his sleeve. He trains his men to form schiltrons.
Well, schiltron is a tightly packed spear formation, probably oval-shaped or possibly crescent-shaped, with spears pointing basically in any direction you can get them, and they are designed, in effect, to stop heavy cavalry charges, which for the last 200 years have dominated the battlefields of medieval Europe.
But they tend, like most infantry in the Middle Ages, to be largely static. But if you can turn that static infantry into highly mobile, organised mass of spearmen, you completely change the
it's actually
and that's what Bruce is able to do, and he reorganises things.
Do you know what would be fitting to show here on the Amiga screen? Name a game. Name what game should be fitting to this television audio.
They're able to move en masse and not lose formation.
I know 3 now of the 4. I think it's 4 games should be fitting. A couple of Sinclair Spectrum games, of course. I think 3. Those I don't know the name of. There's a lot of nice music in there. But then we have the classic juice thing.
They are not necessarily.
I will not tell it just yet. I have it on the list. I will just keep the tense. And it's published by Cinemaware, and it's made free to play in Java nowadays. Published by Cinemaware, and it's called Robin of the Sherwood. It's in that game, like a lot of games.
Bruce has prepared a brutal surprise for the English knights.
Defender of the Crown.
On either side of the road leading
It came later on several other platforms, but that was Cinemaware, Commodore Amiga 1000. They pushed the music not to the limit, but they used the music function but didn't waste chip memory, so they used no sample sound, but they used all single 4-channel stereo, 12-bit DMA, 12-bit DA conversion, and 4 bits volume on each of
the cars bounded on the north side by the Pell Stream.
The 4 channels paired up in 2, at least. You could you change the volume on left or right channel separately, or
just the foreplay?
Was it the master volume?
Is still to come. And the rebel king has seen too many of his comrades in arms slaughtered when facing a full-scale charge by English heavy horse. So as he and his lieutenants gathered to plan the next
16
move,
bits of
for the first time,
16 bits of mono sound guaranteed with a little processing power, and up to 29 kilohertz, I think you counted as 40 14 megahertz twice.
And his heir is his brother Edward, and was also winning the battle at Bannockburn. And the only remaining member of the Bruce dynasty at that point is Archie, Bruce's daughter from his first marriage, who was a prisoner in England at the time. So if Robert and Edward don't make it off that battlefield, and they wouldn't, then the whole the Bruce dynasty goes
the purpose was not
in effect, and those clan leaders, those ruling families, all of them will then have to find themselves a new strongman, or else they're going to go over to Redwood Sound.
Rather than fight next day, Bruce wants to withdraw to the hills near Loch Lomond. So determined is he to avoid pitched battle and to wage the guerrilla warfare that has worked so brilliantly until now, he urges his men to quit while they have the advantage. But then, Campbell introduces a surprise guest to the council. Alexander Seaton is still officially in the service of Edward II, but now he's crossed enemy lines. Urgent news for the Scots. First, Lord Campbell reminds Bruce of the bond Seaton swore with him at Kunskapskanalen 6 years previously, to die fighting for his king. Seaton is a Scottish spy. Seaton reports that after the initial clash, English confidence has been unlocked. That the Barons
I was just about to show you your favorite.
The second's leadership is under. My lord, now is the time, if ever you mean to win Scotland. The English have lost heart, they are discomfited. I swear on my head and on the day of being hanged and drawn, that if you attack in the morning, you will defeat them easily, without loss. For Bruce, cunning, ruthless warrior that he is, this intelligence changes everything. By contrast, the clans are spoiling for a fight. It's game on. In the dark light of the Scots emerge and take up position overlooking the English army. Bruce himself commands a division of spearmen.
At Bannockburn, Bruce has, within his own division of the Scottish Army, the men of Argyll and the Isles. Now, these were, I think, the troops that Bruce understood the best, troops who fought the Gallic way, troops who had been the backbone of his army in his guerrilla campaigns since 1306, 1307.
The men Bruce leads aren't just the king's subjects, they're comrades. He knows he's taking them into a fight where they're vastly outnumbered and outclassed.
Those barons over there.
And the instruction to the tick thing, you put the tick anti-thing here. Tick lies and fleas, especially about lies. Anti-lies you put down in the neck. I should see that for more people lies around me like that.
Daughter, sisters of
and then you should, for a fortnight, you should protect the cat from open fires.
What else they will use?
That's, I don't know why.
Children's advance out of the gloom of the dawn.
Test the fire, the sample, not the cat.
Bruce might be facing his enemy in battle, but his plan is simple.
But I think it's
to once again exploit clan warfare.
The high level of speed that's bad for
this time on an epic scale.
Bruce is trying to bring the battle to the English as quickly as possible. He's trying to close the distance between them and meet them in an area where it is too narrow for them to bring their superior numbers.
High temperature.
And now facing is impenetrable wall of Scottish speed advancing slowly, inexorably towards the entrance.
No.
And Bruce is confident that the discipline that he's instilled in these men
No, that's lost forever.
to push the English back, to kettle them in.
With the Bannock Burn hemming them into the rear, the English heavy horse can't charge with any force of momentum, and are driven back by deadly sheltering spears. Pushing forward, the Scots soon begin to gain ground.
And that is for the
Chaos
cat.
breaks out in the English ranks as dead and wounded are
It's
trampled.
removing makeup, and I use
Slowly
them
but
for
surely the whole army is driven back
cleaning
towards the
sensitive
Bannock.
areas. It's maybe watch for the cat ass.
Crucial junction about Bruce realises that the time
No, it's not, because they're very fluffy.
wishes his own division
Not-
in what we would now call, I think, the Highland Charge.
Those of the English that haven't been impaled, trampled or crushed to death now flee, only to drown in the Bannock Burn, being cut down by the pursuing Highlanders. Bruce has won. Victory at Bannockburn gives Bruce legitimacy as king. He is Scotland's champion. The ransoms raised from captured English nobles by the release of his family from captivity. And he now has the power to deliver on the long-promised rewards to the clan chiefs who supported him, namely Neil Campbell,
But it's a classic.
Angus Orman, and
Victory at Bannockburn is really setting the seal for a transition from the Roman region to the Paris region. And one of the ways that you see that being manifest immediately after Bannockburn is a series of land grants and gains of territory and title. That's what you need to give you the title deeds, if you like. That's that still symbolic handing over of earth and rock as a sign of you got physical possession of this land. Land is still the key to power, and this is rewarding the new regime's key members.
Bruce's victory meant a redrawing of the whole map of the Highlands. The previous all-powerful warlords, the Commons and the MacDougalls, had their power either greatly diminished or else eliminated altogether. In their place, new victors stood. We have the Campbells,
I like those four
the
fractions.
McCreary's in the Northern Hebrides, and above all, we have the Clan Donald, the great swathe of land both in the mainland and in the Hebrides, the foundation for a great territorial empire over the coming generations.
Och nästa avsnitt av Skottlands våldsamma historia ser vi på annandagen 21:45. Strax lär vi känna ett ovanligt gästvänligt ljud.
One for each custom branch. Everybody for themselves.
Följ med marinbiologen Monty Holmes till Galapagos.
I'm not grabbing that. It's massive.
Här utforskar han det fantastiska djurlivet tillsammans med två kunniga assistenter.
So many wildlife creatures.
There is no greater explorer than a 5-year-old. If we can't save the Galapagos, then what about the rest of the world?
Familjeäventyr på Galapagos, annandagen i Kunskapskanalen.
Can I search your ass? You can't think hear me.
De är smarta och lojala.
Hey, my best friend, we're inseparable. They're dogs, they're not robots.
This is really great. They love to work.
Och kan saker som inte vi människor kan.
Boy, come on. Pushing incident is getting down because of these dogs. Children might not like reading to an but reading to a dog is different. So dog will just listen.
En serie om människans bästa vän. Hundar som jobbar. Måndagar i Kunskapskanalen och kunskapskanalen.se. Vi ser många naturfilmer från otillgängliga platser, men vi ser sällan filmteamen som gör dem. 22:45 följer vi strapatserna som teamet bakom tundrans vita vargar går igenom.
No thank you, no thank you, no thank you, now we have...
Jättebältan som lever i Brasiliens våtmark.
No thank you, no thank you, no thank you.
Som ut sin bohåla i landet.
In the heart of Brasilia,
no, I
it's an animal so elusive.
I remember that was something that...
in the wild.
Oh.
The giant armadillo.
Midnattsmässa from Midnight Mass from Rome. That can't be copyrighted. That should be terrible if that was. The Pope from Rome for 20. It's like over an hour. But from now counting it's less 48 more minutes. No, 58 more minutes, 57 minutes more. If I do like that, I could have, then it would stop there and there.
O Dio che hai illuminato questa santissima notte con lo splendore di Cristo e la luce del mondo. Concedi a noi che sulla terra contempliamo il tuo mistero di partecipare alla sua gloria nel cielo. Egli è Dio e vive e regna con te nell'unità dello Spirito Santo.
Bönen som pågår nu bad heter kollektbönen och den samlar ihop våra enskilda böner som påven ber och allas vängrar i denna bön.
Nej, det där översättningen tror jag inte.
Och den första läsningen ur Bibeln på julnatten är ur profeten Jesajas 9 kapitel i Gamla testamentet. 750 år före Jesu födelse berättar Jesaja om ett barn som föds, att en son är oss given.
Cool. Could this be high? Could this be Italian politician? No, this is a female, not a female priest, but a female Vatican person. Or a famous,
e come si esulta quando si divide la preda. Perché tu hai spezzato il giogo che l'opprimeva, la sbarra sulle sue spalle e il bastone del suo ett folk som vandrar i mörkret ser ett stort ljus. Över dem som bor i mörkrets land strålar ljuset fram. Du låter jublet stiga, du gör glädjen stor. Dati sto al fuoco, perché un bambino è nato per noi, ci è stato dato un figlio, sulle sue spalle è il potere e il suo nome sarà consigliere mirabile, Dio potente, Padre per sempre, Principe della pace. Grande sarà il suo potere e la pace non avrà fine sul trono. En son är oss given. Väldet är lagt på hans axlar och detta är hans namn. Allvis härskare, gudomlig hjälte, evig fader, fredsfurste. Del Signore degli eserciti.
Och nu responsoriepsalmen som man sjunger växelvis. På julnatten är den ur Psaltarpsalm 96 som profetiskt innehåller en uppmaning till alla folk att sjunga en ny sång som klingar genom seklerna ständigt nu. Hela julen talar om en radikal nyhet, ett nytt ljus. Absoluta nyheten i julens mysterium är att genom att Jesus antar vår natur kan människan dela hans gudomliga natur, det vill säga leva för evigt med Gud, hos Gud. Om man firar detta förunderliga utbyte. Sjung till Herrens ära en ny sång. Sjung till Herrens ära hela världen. Sjung till Herrens ära.
Fuck you!
Prisa hans
namn. Jag ut hela tiden. Jag tror att jag måste flytta den.
Annunciate di giorno in giorno la sua salvezza. In mezzo alle genti narrate la sua
Varför vill du hjälpa till med 2015 års bokföring?
A tutti I popoli dite le sue meraviglie.
Ropa ut hans seger dag efter dag. Förkunna hans ära bland folken. Bland alla människor. Hans under.
Gioiscano I cieli, esulti la terra, risuoni il mare e quanto racchiude. Sia in festa la campagna e quanto contiene.
Och jorden jubla, havet brusa och allt det rymmer. Marken och allt den bär må glädja sig. Då ska alla träd I skogen jubla inför Herren. Se, han kommer.
Davanti al Signore che viene, si egli viene a giudicare la terra, giudicherà il mondo con giustizia e nella sua fedeltà tutti I popoli.
Se, han kommer för att råda över jorden, råda rättvist över världen. Råda trofast över folken.
Ja, det är några.
Och nu följer den andra läsningen. Den är från Paulus Titus brev, andra kapitlet. Där aposteln inte bara påminner om att Jesus kom till jorden för att rädda oss, och friköpa oss från alla synder, utan att vi även väntar på hans återkomst.
Figlio mio, è apparsa la grazia di Dio che porta salvezza a tutti gli uomini e ci insegna a rinnegare l'impietà e i desideri mondani e a vivere in questo mondo con sobrietà, con giustizia e con
Guds nåd har blivit synlig som en räddning för alla människor. Den lär oss att säga nej till ett gudlöst liv och denna världens begär, och att leva anständigt, rättrådigt och fromt i den tid som nu är. Medan vi väntar på att vårt saliga hopp ska infrias och vår store Gud och frälsare Kristus Jesus träda fram i sin härlighet. Han har offrat sig själv för oss, för att friköpa oss från alla synder och göra oss rena, så att vi blir hans eget folk, uppfyllt av iver att göra vad som är gott.
Han inte ens att han flyttas. Han fick så jävla mycket ved där.
Kören sjunger halleluja från hebreiskans Låt prisa Gud. Man sjunger halleluja före och efter evangeliet i mässan för att hylla Jesus.
Som du kör med, för jag ska köra gradvis till stan. Och får låna max 4 timmar, och sen ska min farsa ha det. Kan jag inte låna det till stan? Sista gången jag blev hjälpt på det. Jag var bilröst. Nu kan vi inte åka till Möddeköping. Men det gör vi på fredag.
Bönan evangelieboken i procession.
Så är det 14 år senare hjälpte jag mig att handla mat.
Medan kören sjunger, jag bär bud till er om en stor glädje.
Jag har del.
Idag har en frälsare fötts och död. Han är Messias, Herren.
Hon har varit elaka mot mina. Jag har 4 eller 5 alla elektriska. Jag har gått hem och så. Sluta kedjan. Alla allihopa. Det var ju jätteskratt precis i det här tåget.
Il Signore sia con voi. Dal Vangelo secondo Luca.
Det blir aldrig bra. Det blir aldrig bra att byta för mig.
Diakonen sjunger nu. Ska du sjunga evangeliet på italienska, det är julevangeliet ur Lukas andra kapitel, som ger oss många historiska fakta kring Jesu födelse i Betlehem för drygt 2000 år sedan.
Questo primo censimento fu fatto quando Quirinio era governatore della Siria. Tutti andavano a farsi censire, ciascuno nella propria città.
Vid den tiden utfärdade kejsar Augustus en förordning om att hela världen skulle skattskrivas. Det var den första skattskrivningen och den hölls när Quirinus var ståthållare i Syrien. Alla gick då för att skattskriva sig var och en till sin stad. Och Josef, som genom sin härkomst hörde till Davids hus, begav sig från Nasaret i Galileen upp till Judeen, till Davids stad Betlehem, för att skattskriva sig tillsammans med Maria, sin trolovade, som väntade sitt barn. Medan de befann sig där var tiden inne för henne att föda, och hon födde sin son, den förstfödde. Hon levde i krubba, eftersom det inte fanns plats för dem inne i henne.
Vegliavano tutta notte facendo la guardia al loro gregge. Un angelo del Signore si presentò a loro e la gloria del Signore li avvolse di luce.
I samma trakt låg några herdar ute och vaktade sin jord